We have a massive, big crisis on our hands in the United States. Nobody wants to talk about it. You have the courage to talk about it. I have the courage to talk about it. Even Jerome Powell from the United States Federal Reserve recently had the courage to talk about it. And don't you worry, it's good news for the silver price and gold price. They've seen this type of crisis many times over the last decades and centuries. You'll be okay with silver and gold, but we need to be prepared because we are heading into some very rough waters in the United States. The national debt is becoming unsustainable. As a matter of fact, at his most recent press conference, let's talk about what Jerome Powell said from the United States Federal Reserve. He said the financial position of the United States is unsustainable. Oh, that should be setting off red alert alarms, right? But isn't it like everybody else is sleeping? I was at a family party the other day and I mentioned to one of my cousins, I was like, what do you think about the national debt? And they give you this, you might as well ask them what they think about silver and gold, right? They give you this blank look like, I don't know, as long as I have my Netflix, I'm happy type look. Guys, this national debt is a big deal, but Jerome Powell had even more to say. A reporter asked him, would you monetize the United States debt? Meaning, would the Fed directly buy debt from the U.S. government, print money out of thin air and directly buy it? And Jerome said, absolutely not. Now, we're going to talk about that a little more later in the video. Finally, Jerome said this. He said, we're going to have to deal with this debt problem. But then he was like, but now's not a good time to do it. Now we can deal with it later. Like right now, things are too sensitive. Guys, things are going to get more sensitive. Things are going to get more screwed up. And eventually, what's going to happen is some form of monetization. We know. Do we believe what Jerome Powell says? Heck no. Do I need to go through the stack of examples I have where he's lied to the American people in the past? No, because you know he never tells the truth. At the end of the day, they're going to have to monetize, but even under that situation, things are going to be rough, right? Things are going to be very difficult for individuals, for businesses. We need to be prepared. I want to share a couple things with you. Number one, you mean a lot to me. There is no Ron's Basement without you. So from wherever you are in the world right now, joining me here, I appreciate it. And I want you to know that you're always welcome. Also, these subjects are not always pleasant to talk about. They can cause some anxiety. So know that you're not alone in your concerns, in your desire to protect yourself and your family. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. That helps us get the word out to more people. You know, silver and gold are real money. Paper money and debt are nothing more than unicorn fart dust, as we like to refer to them. But the debt of the United States has grown so huge, 32 trillion. Now there's no limit for the next year and a half by which how much they can raise it. People are talking about $50 trillion in debt within the next decade. What's going to happen, guys, when nobody has the money to buy the debt from the United States, or they don't want to buy the debt because they look at it as what it is, like a never-ending spiral of doom. There's no way the U.S. government's going to be able to pay back that debt with anything that resembles any type of value. So what's going to happen then? And you have Jerome Powell saying, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to touch it. Rates are going to go up. That will kill the economy. That will kill so many companies that already can barely pay the debt service on the loans they have. That will wipe out people like you and me who haven't prepared, people who've accumulated large amounts of debt on variable debt type instruments like credit cards, it will just wipe them out. This debt problem is serious. It's critical. Nobody talks about it. It's like if you went to a family reunion and saw an uncle you haven't seen for 5 years and he has a giant cancer on his face. And you ask him, "How are you doing, uncle?" And he says, "Oh, everything's fine. Everything's great. Everything's awesome." Look, we've got a big cancer in the United States called the national debt. The good news for you is that silver and gold will do well no matter how this plays out. Let me explain to you. If our friend Jerome sticks to his word and doesn't monetize the debt problem at all, then the whole system implodes because interest rates skyrocket, causing massive economic upheaval within the business world and on a personal finance level. Yes, your neighbors, your friends, the ones who have a lot of debt could be in serious, serious trouble. But if the Fed does monetize the debt, and this is where it also gets even more interesting, then the dollar is going to go down in value and the value of silver and gold will skyrocket. And what's so interesting about this is if you consider that while the Fed says they won't directly print money to buy debt directly from the Treasury, right? That's monetizing the debt. They do have a history of printing money at the Fed and buying U.S. government debt from the banks. They just don't buy it directly from the Treasury. That's how they get around it. They have the banks buy it from the Treasury, and then the Fed buys it from the banks. Look, no matter what they do, things are going to be very interesting and very scary for all of us. We need to be prepared. It actually gets even a little more frightening when you consider from a larger context what's going on in the world right now. The world is splitting. The world is at odds. Real moves are being taken to move away from the dollar. That also puts downward pressure on the value of the dollar. We have Russia, China, India, Iran coming up with all types of new financial arrangements amongst themselves. And you know what? They all do not include the dollar. We've got half of the world that doesn't like the United States right now, and half of the world that is making explicit, fast moves to get away from the dollar. We need to be prepared. We are prepared. You're watching right now because you're not the type of person who wants to keep your head in the sand. You're going to be okay. None of us has a crystal ball, but we are one step ahead because we're willing to look at these tough situations and we're willing to have the courage to make moves when appropriate to protect ourselves and our family. Thank you for joining me. Go watch a live stream.